Hi everyone, my name is Graham Hayes. I'm the PTL for OpenStack Designate.
I'm Eric Anderson. I'm a core reviewer in Designate.
So just for people who may not know, Designate is the DNS as a service project within OpenStack. We've been around a long time. It started as an unofficial OpenStack project in about 2012 in a small company in Dublin in Ireland. Then we went to HP Public Cloud, where we had it in production and running in 2013. And we officially became part of OpenStack during the Liberty release, just before the Big Tent. We are in 16% of production OpenStack installs. We are shipped in pretty much every major distribution of OpenStack. And a lot of the biggest clouds, OpenStack clouds, actually use Designate.
In the last release of Rocky, one of our main focuses was to meet all the project-wide goals, which we did without any problems. We also made sure that we worked that we supported Python 3 fully, which was also very successful. In addition, we worked with the Neutron team to set up cross-integration for gating to make sure that we're always that we never break with the Neutron integration, which is very important for reliability. Finally, we had a team help us convert our objects to be also versioned. The idea there is in the future we should be able to do automatic online upgrades and so forth, which is something will come in a future release, basically. For Stein, we continued on the project goals. We implemented things like the upgrade checker, which helps detect some of the issues that you might need to correct before you upgrade. We solved some Python 3.7 specific issues, as well as a couple of deadlocks were fixed. In addition to that, we added some support for some new records. We made major improvements to the gate to make it more reliable and faster. And in addition, we also tried to standardize and modernize our code base a lot. So as an example, we updated also messaging, or the pattern we use rather, to be more in line with what projects like Nova and Neutron do. And then finally, a really big change is that we are moving over to a new, we are defaulting to the new model with worker and producer. In the past, we used the pool manager. But yeah, with this release, it's now the default one. So if you still want to use the old model, you will have to make sure to configure that ahead of time. Looking at the future for Train, we're going to make sure that we support IPv6, which we already do. We have some minor stuff to do with so that we can support the new PDF format for documentation. We're also working on making sure that VCGI support is fully implemented in Designate API, which is a requirement for us to be included in the next version of
Debian.
Debian, thank you. And then finally, we're going to be looking at implementing shared zones. We do need some help about, we need some manpower for that, but I'll let you take it away for shared zones. Yeah.
So this is one of the biggest sort of requests we get. In Berlin, we had a forum session where we sat down and trashed out what we thought were the best pattern for doing shared DNS zones was. The intent there was, after Berlin, I would go down and sit down and write a spec, and then we'd start looking for people to implement it. Unfortunately, the way things fell, there wasn't time to even write a spec, but it's shared zones and the WSGI app are my main focus for this cycle. So the idea is initially, if you have a DNS zone and you want to share it into another project, you can allow them to just read the zone information right into it, so they can create records in the same, a load of projects can create records in the same zone, and also allow projects to create subzones. So your mycompany.com might be owned by your central project team, and you don't want anyone actually being able to put records in there, but you want users to be able to create myapp.mycompany.com. So if they want to have a separate zone for all of their web servers and DNS servers or database servers, allowing them as a subzone access should allow them to create the zones. Right now, a lot of people have sort of weird hacks where they create the subzone in the owning tenant, and then they transfer ownership to the person who needs it. But this should allow us to be a lot more self-service for that, which is pretty important. The Etherpad there has a lot of the details on it. If it's something you can see that your company or some of your customers may need, please do reach out. We do need help actually implementing it. It's going to be a common theme for this update, but the Designate team is quite small. We're okay at keeping everything maintained and working, but for new feature work, extra resources are helpful. So going further, I know there is a couple of people who use Designate who need split horizon and have currently done it in a certain way but wanted to be a first-class citizen within OpenStack, within Designate. And your idea. So we had a session earlier on today with feedback for people to give features and bugs they were looking for. But if you have any ideas, please do reach out to me or Eric or the mailing list and let us know. It's a lot easier when we have real world, I want to do a particular thing, feedback, which helps us move forward. So for over the next couple of cycles as well, we want to improve how the integration between Designate and Neutron works. Right now it's limited in how it works. People can't necessarily use it for all the different network types. So trying to expand that with the Neutron team, and also supporting multiple DNS zones per network. So if you have a shared external network, allowing tenants to have a different default DNS zone on that network. So when they create a port, it'll automatically create the right DNS entry for them. So these are the best ways to reach out. As I said, we are a resource constrained team, and without people either reaching out or talk, if you use a vendor and you use Designate, let the vendor know. Some vendors don't necessarily realize how many people actually use it until they try to take it out of a release. And generally by then it's too late. And people have to scramble, as in a certain Linux distribution. But like Designate isn't a big project. It's a very good way for people to get involved in OpenStack as a whole. We're a small team, so there's no massive bureaucracy around it. If people want to become a core reviewer, as long as you show up and start reviewing, and reviewing well, not just doing +1 reviews, I am more than happy to hand off to add people to the core group. It's a good way for people to understand how OpenStack works as well, because contributing your first patch to Nova could be slightly more daunting than coming into the OpenStack DNS channel and doing a patch. So yeah, we have a bi-weekly IRC meeting that doesn't necessarily always run, but when there's information or topics to discuss about, we're nearly always in the IRC channel. We may not respond immediately because of time zones. I'm based in Dublin, Eric's on the West Coast. But we will respond whenever we see it. There is quite a few bugs sitting there that are waiting for people to jump on and start working on. And finally, improving the docs. I've been working on Designate for nearly 7 years, and my familiarity with it is so that if I write a docs, it isn't necessarily from the right perspective. So if people are looking at Designate and see something wrong with our docs, even just filing a bug and saying, this section isn't very clear, or this doesn't actually work like that anymore, you're thinking of the old way, please do. So yeah, that's it. For me, this is going to probably be my last project update on behalf of Designate. This is my last cycle as PTL. So with that, we do need people to step up and start joining into the group. I'm not going to disappear straight away, but it's something I've been hammering on this week, is getting people to jump on board. And it's not, we don't need people full-time. I actually think that would be a waste of resources.
Yeah. As an example, I do part-time, and I think the biggest thing we really need right now is reviewers.
Yeah.
We have a lot of patches waiting to be merged, but not enough people to actually go through them.
Yeah, like I work for a company that has nothing to do with OpenStack, but I do part-time on Designate. So it's perfectly doable. And if it's something that you rely on, because DNS is generally something that people actually rely on without realizing it, it's important to keep running and running to its best potential. So is there any questions with that? No? If you have anything you want to ask me after, come up or find me outside. Eric as well.
Definitely.
And with that, thank you very much for showing up and your interest.
Thank you.